Bienvenue tout le
Welcome, everyone. We're going to continue with our second.
ministre d'Agriculture,
We have the honor of receiving the Honorable Marie-Claude Bibeau. Welcome. Congratulations on your new portfolio. Well, it's not quite as new as it once was, but congratulations. We also have the pleasure of having with us from Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, Ms. Annette Gibbons. Welcome. She is the Associate Deputy Minister. And from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, we have France Pigeot, who is the Executive Vice President. So welcome to all of you. We will begin with you, Minister. You have 10 minutes for an opening statement, if you would. Thank you, Chair.
This opportunity to meet with you for the first time. As you know, it has been a very busy first weeks for me since I took over the portfolio at Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada on March 1st. I've embraced my new role with a lot of enthusiasm. I thought I had the best job as the Minister of International Development, but I must admit that I very enjoy agriculture and agri-food as well. And I will certainly be relying on the expertise around this table. I want to thank you for your important work, and I know you are exploring the issues that matter for the industry. Climate change, non-tariff trade barriers, and a food policy for Canada, to name just a few. This morning, I'm pleased to outline some of the key priorities that we are focusing on at the department and across the government. The government has high ambitions for our agricultural trade. Taken together, our trade agreements are giving our farmers a competitive edge in 60% of the global economy. And Canada is the only G7 member to have trade agreements with all the others. The government's top priority is to regain full market access for our canola seed exports to China. At the same time, we are ensuring Canadian producers have the support they need. The industry has been very clear that farmers will need additional assistance this year to manage cash flow pressures. That is why yesterday, the Minister of International Trade Diversification and I announced that the federal government will amend the regulations of the Agricultural Marketing Programs Act to increase the loan limits under the Advanced Payments Program. The regulatory amendment will change the loan limits for the Advanced Payment Program for 2019 as follows. Advances will increase from $400,000 to $1 million on all commodities, and the first $100,000 will remain interest-free on all commodities except for canola, for which the interest-free advances will be eligible for up to $500,000. These measures will give producers the support they need to manage their cash flow. As well, we are extending the AgriStability enrollment deadline by 2 months without penalty from April 30th to July 2nd. These measures reflect the commitment of federal and provincial governments to work together to respond to the needs of farmers and industry. Our working group with industry and provinces has been meeting weekly, and today again, and focused on supporting the sector, including the importance of diversifying into new markets. Notre groupe de travail sur le Canada se rencontre chaque semaine.
The working group on canola meets every week to focus on supporting the sector, including working on the importance of diversifying into new markets. We are diversifying our trade through agreements like the CPTPP, which will eliminate tariffs on canola products going into Japan. Already, Canadian beef exports to Japan have doubled in the first 2 months of 2019 compared to the same period last year. And Canadian pork exports to Japan have increased by nearly 14%. In about a week, I will travel to Japan to take part in the G20 Agriculture Ministers meeting. While in Japan, I will meet with Japanese industry leaders and officials from several countries to advance Canada's agricultural trade. We're optimistic that, as more Canadians pursue opportunities created by the agreement, we will see these numbers grow. through the CTPP and other trade agreements. At the same time, we're taking steps to protect our pork industry by taking measures to keep African swine fever out of Canada. Canadian pork producers depend on exports to sell 70% of their production. We're investing in stronger border controls while strengthening inspection of feed imports. Canada is taking international leadership on African swine fever. On Tuesday, I addressed an international forum on African swine fever with officials from the United States and Mexico. We organized the forum. Some 25 countries, including European Union countries, were present. Canada's trade strategy is strong and balanced. At the same time, we know that our trade agreements have impacts on our dairy, poultry, and egg producers. That's why the 2019 budget puts forward an investment of up to $3.9 billion to deal with income losses associated with CPTPP and CETA, and to protect against any reduction in quota value. I am eager to sit down with producers. I have been meeting with them as often as I can and with their representatives to develop the approach that works for them. I attended the first meeting of the Strategic Working Group for Dairy. Our common goal is the long-term competitiveness of our dairy, poultry, and egg producers. Another major priority for us is to launch a food policy for Canada. Last week, we had a great discussion on the food policy with some key stakeholders at the Food Security Symposium in Toronto. In Budget 2019, we are proposing to invest $134.4 million to support the food policy, which will be the first of its kind for Canada. The policy sets out an ambitious vision of ensuring that all people in Canada are able to access a sufficient amount of safe, nutritious, and culturally diverse food, and that Canada's food system is resilient and innovative, sustains our environment, and supports our economy. Mr. Chairman, the future is full of promise for Canada's agriculture and agri-food industry. Demand for Canadian food continues to rise, and Canada has the competitive advantages to meet that demand sustainably. I look forward to working with you and all stakeholders to help our agriculture and food sector grow, innovate, and prosper. Thank you.
Madame la Ministre,
Thank you, Minister. We will now move to questions and answers. Mr. Berthold, 6 minutes. Thank you, Minister. Welcome and congratulations on your appointment to the position of Minister of Agriculture. I hope that after a few weeks, in a few weeks rather, you will say it will be the best job you have had, because it is an amazing industry. Minister, we're very happy to have you here because it's been quite a while since we had a Minister of Agriculture. We have many questions. An hour is not enough, so we'll focus on some of them. Canola is one. It took 3 requests for emergency meetings, 9 emergency debate applications, meetings and requests from provincial, municipal and other stakeholders until the federal government took action by increasing amounts of loans under the advance payment program. Minister, what was the tone of your last conversation as minister with the authorities in China? If I may, I'll start by saying that the canola issue came up right after I became Minister of Agriculture. It is a priority. Since then, have you spoken about canola with the Chinese authorities? I wrote to my counterpart and I received an answer. What was in that answer, Ms. Bibeau? It stated that we needed to continue the conversation. So you received no acceptance. They did not accept to agree to have a direct discussion with you on canola. I've had no discussion. Are you ready to fly to China now to meet with Chinese authorities and deal with the crisis? Absolutely. So what prevents you from doing that? Are you going to do it? How will you do it? And why aren't you already booking your ticket? so that you can go to China and settle this. That's a very simplistic view of the situation. Mr. Berthold, I'm working very closely with my colleagues. A crisis isn't simplistic. Well, the solution you propose is simplistic, and I would be very happy if you would let me answer. I'm working very closely with my provincial counterparts, with industry leaders, with farmers' representatives. We have formed a working group and are assessing all possible options and the best way to intervene. Our committee has decided not to have a political meeting at the moment. Ms. Bibeau, there are a growing number of experts, ministers, provincial premiers, agriculture ministers who are asking Canada, they're calling on Canada to take stronger measures against China. They believe that failure to show strength to China is simply going to make things worse, as we saw with what's happening in the pork industry. All this soft approach is doing is exacerbating the crisis. Don't you think there needs to be a political solution, and you think those who say there must be one are all wrong? I think that our working group represents all stakeholders, and we have a strategy that we're following. I think Canada sets itself apart, particularly because we have international trade relations that are based on the international world order of trade. Yes, but your approach isn't working, Minister. It is estimated that losses will reach $1 billion for Canadian canola farmers, and we don't see your government taking urgent action. You're talking about committees, rule of law. Has the government taken the trouble to call the Chinese ambassador to Canada to take diplomatic action? There have been discussions at many levels. As you know, Minister Freeland is responsible for diplomatic relations. As Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food, my priority is to defend producers. Has the canola crisis been discussed with the Chinese ambassador to Canada? There have been discussions at many levels. I cannot confirm exactly who spoke to whom and when. So you have other ministers doing other things, but the Minister of Agriculture, who's responsible for production, producers, and markets, is waiting for Ms. Freeland to take action. I know full well that Ms. Freeland, I know full well that you wanted Ms. Freeland to appear, but now you've got the Minister of Agriculture, and my mandate is to defend our producers, our Canadian products, and that is exactly what I'm doing. And that is why I am obliged to do that, and I'm determined to defend the quality of our Canadian canola and to defend the soundness of our inspection system. It's very high caliber. Have you been able to make that point to China? I'm asking for evidence of issues. I still have received none. The inspections we conducted before the canola cargo left Canada, it was examined again afterwards, and there is no evidence that it failed to comply with China's requirements.
To our committee, we were continuing a discussion that this committee has had on canola, and I know that shortly you'll be receiving a letter that we're putting in through the chair to discuss some of the issues that we've talked about this morning. So I'll leave that to the letter, and your response coming back to us will be anticipated, and we'll be very interested to see how that goes. I'm really interested also in the food policy. You know, we did an in-depth study that was it could have been a bestseller in Guelph. We had professors that were using our study in their classroom. Some came to me with dog-eared copies with notes all over them. Guelph is now asking me, so we have a budget of $134 million. When can we see that report? Do you have a timeline on when we'll be able to see the the food policy so that we can have further discussions in Guelph?
I wish I would be able to launch the food policy before the summer. I'm really working hard on it, and I'm very proud of this food policy. And actually, I had the chance to have a roundtable with different industries of the agriculture sector in Guelph last week.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah,
So-
that's right. I was somewhere else.
Yes, so that was very very interesting. So talking about the food policy, there are different elements, as you know, access, and I will take for granted that you've read all the budget.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
maybe I can take this opportunity to speak a bit about the part of it which is to promote the Canadian production.
Yeah.
I think it is very important, and I don't want it to be limited to a marketing strategy, but really put a lot of emphasis on building pride and trust of the Canadians when they look at our Canadian agriculture, and this is something that is dear to my heart.
Good. And I spoke to the Friends of the Public Library in Guelph last week, and even the Guelph Public Library friends were talking about food security. And they asked me to give them a presentation on food security. And I said, this is within our food policy discussions. The city of Guelph has put in a Smart Cities application for a circular food economy looking at reducing food waste. Could you comment on maybe food waste, relation to climate change or relation to the budget?
Yes, and the way that the food waste component will be deployed or roll out is connected to what you just said, because we want to make it a challenge to really, find innovative ideas that we will later on be able to scale up.
Right.
So this might be of interest for your team. And last week, still in the same region, I had the chance to participate to a symposium on food security, and I realized that it was very diversified in the sense that we had very big processors and NGOs and food banks and farmers all around, and all in the same place. And I've been told that this networking and the fact that they are still working together started with the consultation of the food policy.
Yep.
And I think it's very promising.
Yeah, since we've never had a food policy, it's creating some discussions we weren't even thinking of, including mental health.
Yes.
And we've just, we're going through the completion of a report on mental health, and then working with Health Canada. This is another example where there's provincial, territorial responsibilities as well as federal responsibilities. Could you maybe comment on how you're working with provinces and territories to try and coordinate some of these efforts?
I understand the importance of it, and as you know, my secretary parliamentary take this file very
Yes.
seriously and is feeding me on this subject. And yesterday I thought it was important to include it as well, talking about the canola farmer. You're right, we have to do it in collaboration with the provinces since they are responsible for public health.
Yes.
And it's a work in progress. And the other thing that we will have to work with the provinces is also the school food program. And it's not related to mental health, but it will, both of these subjects will be, part of the conversation we have to have with the provinces.
Yeah. 'Cause food touches everything. It's social,
Oh,
it's
yes.
environmental, it's economic, and the school children need support. And unfortunately in Ontario, that's going in the wrong direction right now. We're hoping we can support in some ways. I know the local Rotary Club has picked up the cause to try and help feed kids before school. To change channels on this, the African swine fever, you mentioned in your opening comments, an international forum, that the work that's being done there. We have a large processing plant in Guelph, and we also have Maple Leaf Foods in Guelph. They're both concerned about food, the supply security, to make sure that we don't get infected, as China is. You would think that that would become an opportunity for China if they're losing protein out of their supply by up to 40%. Is there an opportunity there for us internationally to build up our
I really
Shipments.
wish it will turn into an opportunity, and it's a possibility as long as we are being extremely careful and, going forward with new measures to protect ourselves. So we had the forum this week, and I'm working in close collaboration with my counterpart, with Secretary Perdue, as well on the subject, because it's really a matter of the continent first.
Yep.
I take it extremely seriously. So the first thing we've done is to invest to get more dog detectors, and to add on the verification we make around animal feed.
Yeah, that's right.
So these are things that we have already done.
Great. Thank you.
I'm making zoning and compartmentalization a priority element of the meeting I will have with my provincial counterparts in July. And the discussions have already started within Canada and with our neighbor as well, because I think it's also an important part of what we have to do to protect ourselves.
Merci, Madame la Ministre. Je dois passer au prochain. Mr. McGregor.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. McGregor.
Committee, it's good to see you. You may recall that I was on the International Trade Committee when you appeared on April 2nd. We had a conversation at that point about the delegation that you wanted to send to China, and I missed the early part of your interaction with Monsieur Berthold, but you made those statements on April 2nd that you had sent a letter and that you were hoping to get the president of the CFIA there. At what point do we, how much longer are you willing to wait before we regard this as an insult to Canada, that China is unwilling to meet with us, unable to provide further scientific evidence? I appreciate the supports you've given to our farmers, but it just doesn't seem we're getting anywhere closer to a resolution with China. And how much longer are you prepared to accept them ignoring us before we want to take other steps or look at other options?
We have different options on the table, and we are having a very, transparent conversations with our partners on the working group. We have to take into consideration, the first English word that comes to my mind is comparative advantages. I mean, who we are as Canadians, how we do business as Canadians, what is the size of our various industries involved in terms of business and trade with China. And I mean, this is not an easy question. So it's important that we are being extremely careful not to elevate or to amplify.
But at the same time, we have to voice our displeasure when someone like the president of the CFIA can still not get to China. That's not a small bureaucratic position in our government.
No, I agree with you. But it's very delicate, and we are putting in the balance the different, sensitivity of each element. So each of us are working in and pushing what we have to push. I already said what is my role, and Minister Freeland is on hers, and Minister Carr is also. So I cannot answer your question clearly. It's not because I don't want to, because I don't have the answer to. I don't have a date, and I say if by, May 10th.
I have other questions.
Okay,
sorry,
then.
I just limited it, but that's just something I just want to know that
so
we
I wish
we
I
will
could
be
answer
keeping
more
track of.
clearly,
We-
but
we just on behalf of all farmers, I just hope the government of Canada is paying attention to that
Okay.
particular issue. Next issue, I want to talk about tariff rate quotas. It's safe to say that our supply managed sectors have not been feeling a lot of love lately with the undermining of our import controls and the loss of market share. However, when I speak with our processors, specifically with
May
relation,
I ask just for clarification? Just
Our tariff rate quotas. So
yeah,
the amount-
because I'm
yeah.
always listening to the floor. But are you talking about the supply
I'm
management,
talking
like
about
the
supply
eggs and
management
poultry?
initially, but I'm going off
Okay.
to what our processors are concerned about. So our tariff
Okay.
rate quotas, you're allowing with the European Union 55% to go to retailers and only 45% to dairy processors. Our dairy processors have good paying jobs in rural communities like yours across Canada. And I just want to know why you are not allocating more tariff rate quotas to our processors. Why are you giving it to retailers who have other secure sources of income when our processors are able to understand the market, to understand what types of cheeses are in demand, and to understand how we can import those in a controlled way that will not put our domestic industries at risk. So can you give this committee an assurance that you will give our domestic processors more of a share of the pie of our tariff rate quotas?
As you know, it's really Minister Carr who is in charge of that. What I know,
But you do sit around the
Yeah.
table with him,
But
and
still.
this is also under your file.
yeah. And what I know, and I'll start with the PTT, anyway, the partnership agreement.
Yeah, I know that's an 80-20, but I'm talking about the European one, which you're giving retailers more than our processors are getting.
I know about it, but I can't give you an answer if we are gonna change.
But if our retailers are importing cheeses that are already readily available in Canada, then you're going to be importing hard cheeses that are putting our domestic industries at risk. So does it not make sense to give more of an allocation to our domestic processors who have an intimate understanding of the local market? I just want some assurance that you're aware of this problem, you're going to deal with it. Like our domestic suppliers, processors, they have already suffered enough under these trade deals. Surely you can throw them a bit of a bone with this particular part with tariff rate quotas.
I can assure you that I am aware, I
Okay.
understand, and that my priority with our supply management industries right now is to roll out what we have promised in the budget.
Quickly, a final question with regards to the animal transport regulations. Our shippers have indicated they have quite a concern with the new regulations that have come into effect. They've told us that they have a 99.6% safe transportation rate. What kind of science did your department use as a reference for putting the new regulations in place? Because our transporters are concerned this will actually lead to decreased animal safety by unloading them more often.
I've heard that, but I'll let my colleague from the CFIA to answer since you're asking for evidence.
Very short answer. And we'll
Thank you very much. Essentially, we have had a lot of consultations with various industry members. We have looked at all the science available in that area. We have looked at international standards, and the regulations that we have put out are actually, the best option possible in light of all that evidence that
And
was
can
in
you
front
supply
of
that
us.
to the committee, the reasoning behind the regulations? Okay, thank you.
Madame Nassif, 6 minutes.
6 minutes, Ms. Nassif. Minister, welcome, and thank you for coming today. You recently announced compensation for our producers, our supply managed producers. Could you expand on that? Tell us about those announcements and investments to help our producers? Absolutely. As you know, this is an issue that I'd been following since before I took on this position. In the budget, $3.9 billion includes $3.5 million for the cases where quotas had gone down in value. So that 3.9 is for compensation, milk, poultry, and eggs. Out of that, $250 million has already been provided in support for dairy producers. And what I need to look at now and act on over the next 2 months is $2.5 billion in compensation for poultry and eggs. And our commitment is the same for processors. However, we haven't been able to put a number yet on that. We weren't able to do that in the budget at the time because there are ongoing discussions with processors. Now, I've heard loud and clear the message of dairy producers. They're asking for compensation, direct compensation, and fair compensation. In other words, compensation that reflects their quotas. That's a clear message that I've understood. I've had discussions for people like Pierre Lampron, who is the president of the Dairy Producers of Canada, as well as Mathieu Frégon, who is the president of the milk processors in Canada. It's very important for me to understand what the disadvantages and the advantages are of the various options that are out there. And so now next stages will involve me going back to Cabinet to speak about the best option before us, and then go before Treasury Board to start the necessary financial steps in order to be able to provide that compensation. Thank you. Now, I don't know if you're aware, I'm also sit on the Status of Women Committee. And oftentimes, women farmers have appeared as witnesses. Oftentimes, their efforts, their work is not recognized. And I'd like to know what is being done to help these women so that their place in the agricultural sector is valued and recognized. Well, that is a very interesting one for me because I actually launched the policy, the feminist policy in international development. Now, we all know how involved women are in family farms, but they're not very well represented around the decision-making tables. What I would begin by saying is that there's a working group for dairy producers. There was a working group for compensation, but now there's a working group on our future visions for supply managed sectors. And I attended that first meeting with the dairy sector. And I've thrown out the challenge, basically, which is to make sure throughout the process to define this vision for the dairy sector, to ensure that women, young women, are heard. When I travel, I try to have roundtables with women in agriculture. And the message that I've heard from the young women, oftentimes they're also mothers, wives, daughters of dairy producers, women who are becoming owners of these farms. The message I hear often is one of the issue of being able to raise a family as well. The same issues basically that affect women politicians. How do they do that while taking on the role of farmer? And culture is also an issue. So as a woman minister, I believe that I should be pushing stakeholders to encourage better representation of these women around decision-making tables. Are there any steps you're going to take, Minister, to help these young entrepreneur women who will be the next generation of producers? So women and young women. And will there be any sort of financial assistance? Well, there is a program called AgriDiversity, and the idea is to support diversity in all its shapes and forms. And there's also another program that I'm less familiar with. I can't remember the name, but Farm Credit Canada. There was an announcement in March for a loans program for women producers. Yes, so $500 million was announced to help women entrepreneurs have access to loans and also have access to mentorship and building capacity, developing their skills. So not only loans, but also to foster an environment that will help them develop their skills. And for young people, AgriDiversity is one. And this morning I met for a 4-H group. They're an organization also to develop leadership. And we also fund 4-H groups and their projects. Thank you very much, Minister. And now we'll move on to Mr. Breton for 6 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Minister, for coming before us today. It's been a very interesting discussion. One of my concerns is this, and it's shared by producers. As you know, we have neighboring ridings, and innovation is something we think about. We need innovation on our farms, and we know that producers aren't just agricultural producers, they're also entrepreneurs. They're also small and medium-sized businesses. They want to innovate. They want to become more productive, and that's very important. Even more so in the current context where there's a labor shortage. So they want to be able to modernize, they want high-quality products. And the demand here in Canada and abroad is increasing, the demand for our products. Our government has taken various steps over the past few years, and I'd like to know what your perspective is. What is your government doing for these businesses that are so important and that want to modernize? Thank you. This really was a revelation to me when I came to this department. Really, this is a department of science and innovation as well, because we need this innovation in agriculture. And we're supporting this in various ways. There's a program, for example, that's administered by my colleague, Minister Baines. And it's a strategic innovation fund. This fund is very broad. There's $100 million that has been set aside for the agricultural sector. And if I'm not mistaken, that's administered by ISED and our regional development agencies. So in Quebec, it's called DEC. Regional development agencies are responsible for administering that $100 million, whose purpose is to support innovative businesses in the agricultural sector. So that provides them with an opportunity to develop. So it falls under the Department of Agriculture, but it's administered by who? Perhaps you could tell us this program. This program doesn't provide funds from our department. It's the innovation department that does that. We have another program called Agri-Innovation, and that also provides funding for innovation of various kinds, whether it be for producers or for processors. And there's a significant amount of science that is done within the department in partnership with universities and with industry. And the purpose always is to foster innovation in our agricultural methods. And I've seen a few projects recently, actually, and I announced a few myself, Agri-Innovate, for example. And they're often focused also on innovation within the environment, for example, decreasing our greenhouse gas emissions. So innovation really is important as part of the criteria. And it's important not just for processors, but also for farmers and producers to use more sophisticated methods and that are better for the environment. Well, thank you. That's very impressive, and I encourage you in your work. We encourage you to continue with those investments in innovation amongst our producers. It's very important, and it's very much appreciated by these entrepreneurs. Now, another quick question. It was raised in part by my colleague Ivan Asif earlier on, and that's about the next generation of producers. We've spoken about diversity and about women, and I think these are really extraordinary programs. However, in terms of the next generation of producers, we know that there are many individuals who want to be able to become owners of farms, either their parents' farms or relative farms or not, but it's a very expensive endeavor. And we want these people to become owners. What's being done? What is our government doing on that file? What has been done? And again, how do you see this? How do you see succession and the next generation? Well, intergenerational transfer is really important to me, and it has been from the very beginning. We often hear about this out in the field. I know that Farm Credit Canada is also working on this and looking at various options that are available. And work also has to be done by the provinces as well to have access to these lands. So we're also engaged in this process with the provinces. We have various partners. I've also asked for a few studies on my part. I can't necessarily give you concrete examples at this point in time or any specific commitment. However, that is clearly something that is a concern, and I'm thinking about it. Thank you, and thank you very much. Thank you. Now we'll move on to Mr. Berthold or Mr. Dreeshen.
I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to discuss the letter mentioned by Mr. Longfield that we're preparing to send the minister. I'd like to talk about it. It was prepared in camera, so if everyone agrees, I can talk about it, but not otherwise. You'll understand there's something in the letter that, well, Liberal members didn't say much about canola today. Minister, do you believe that the restrictions on canola are motivated by political considerations, yes or no? I cannot give a yes or no answer. Do you believe that Canada should appoint an ambassador to China, and would it help resolve the crisis? Yes or no? If that's the game you want to play, Mr. Berthold, there's not much I can do.
Madam Minister, you had indicated that you'd written to your counterpart in China, that you have heard no response back. We have a situation where tariffs were placed on pulses in India. Curious whether or not we're getting any responses back. We also have issues where there are non-tariff trade barriers on durum wheat in Italy. Interesting whether or not we're getting any responses back. If you can imagine when we then are dealing with a country like China and they see the actions that we take and the lack of actions that we take with all of these other issues that Canadian farmers have, perhaps that could indicate to you why it is that farmers are so concerned and so upset. So when a question comes, such as, are we going to have an ambassador in China that actually knows what is happening? This is such a critical time. There are lots of ambassadors that we could move around and to make sure that that happens. It is a very serious question, and so there's also discussions, as you have said, that you're going to go to other countries, going to go to Japan. Do you know what the crush capacity is for Japan? Because people would insinuate from that discussion that there is another extra market that you can have for this canola. Are they not already at maximum capacity? And it means that this canola has to go somewhere.
Okay, there was many questions in your questions. I understand that we have different issues with China, with durum wheat in Italy, with pulse in India, and I think we should not, look at them with the same lens, because there are different reasons why we have challenges. In some cases, it could be more a matter of prioritizing their own culture. Another one could be more a citizen movement. Another one could be, and what we really want to insist on, and this is, and we are pushing on different, international and multilateral forum, is really to have an international trade rule order. This is the reason why we're pushing on it, because
So therefore, you're talking about science-based decisions.
Absolutely.
But we also know, and we've heard from all of the actors associated with this, that there is no science-based reason for our canola not to be accepted. You indicated a moment ago that you couldn't answer that, but other people are answering that for you. And they are making sure that we understand that this is a political issue. And I think it is so important that is recognized. And we have other political issues that I'm trying to look at the time and think of maybe opportunities, maybe the next time that you come, that we can speak. You had spoken about a food policy for Canada, and you indicated how you had gone to Toronto to be able to bring a group of people together to speak to that. I suggest that your food policy should be going out, and you should be talking to the producers of food, not just considering what the newest trend is and what the next commercial and what the next market share approach is going to be from various companies, that you actually go speak to the producers. And so therefore I appreciate that is something that you're looking at. The Manitoba Agriculture Minister had talked about a new aid plan and suggested that is not a substitute for trade, and I assume that when we're talking about the advance payment program, people perhaps get the wrong impression. All you are doing is getting an opportunity to borrow more money. Your bank knows that this is a lien on the crops that you have, and if you do not, if you're going to get canola for its $10.50 a bushel, about 2 months ago it's down $9.50. So you've already lost that. But if we can't do something to help the markets, what are you going to pay this money back with? And I think it is a significant. Raising the amounts, you probably have to be a farm of at least 6,000 acres before you would ever be able to come close to reaching the maximums that are there. But are you looking at other things that you can do in the meantime in order to help us through this crisis? And by that, I'm specifically speaking to discussions with the Chinese.
I'm ready to answer any questions you have asked today when I have an answer to give you. First, just to make it clear, we are talking with the farmers. And the working group is very important because it is important we're talking directly with some farmers, but also with their official representatives, and we are making our path forward to solve the crisis with China, to solve the situation with China with them. And I understand what you said about the APP, the Advanced Payments Program. It's a loan. The objective of this program is to facilitate their lives in terms of cash flow, to allow them to get the best price at the best moment. And this is what we have been asked for by the Premier of Saskatchewan, just to give one example, but also by the working group. So, we are monitoring the situation. We are doing what we think is the best thing at the right moment. And the first one top priority is to reopen the market with China. And we are doing all the actions we think are the best to find a solution to that.
Pass on to the other one, so I know there's a lot of material there, and hopefully we'll get to answer it. Mr. Picciolito for 6 minutes.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Minister, welcome to our committee, and this is your first visit. I'm sure it'll be the first of many visits. As you know, in British Columbia, we're having a resurgence of farming, and there's a whole new crop of young farmers getting involved, attracted to the land. There's a great organization called the Young Farmers of Canada, and they have a very strong presence in BC. Can you talk a little bit about what you or the government is doing to, A, encourage individuals to get involved in farming, and talk a little bit about the young farmers and how we're interfacing with them?
We are interfacing in different, seems to be loud, in different ways. As I had the chance to see, but maybe I said it in French, it is something that is very important to me to get the new generation involved. And we see that they are anxious to own land and to buy farms. And there's really a challenge because our farms now worth important. It's a lot of money, and we have to do better to support them and to ease the intergenerational transfer as well. It's important to have the new generation around the decision table as well, and this is also something that, as the first woman minister, I take as a personal responsibility to work with the different associations to make sure that they think about it seriously and that they make concrete action to make sure that they have more diversity around their board. And we have the different programs supporting them, like the Agri Diversity, so there are some programs which target the new generation and the lowest represented groups in the business.
Yeah. Minister, you mentioned diversity in farming. In BC, as you know, we have a vibrant traditional farming sector, but also a very vibrant organic sector. In my neck of the woods in Stevenson, East Richmond, we have both as well. Can you talk a little bit about what the government is doing to encourage organic farming?
Do you have a concrete example, or because it's really a sector of the that is also of great interest,
Yes.
And I think that when we will roll out the food policy and especially the promote Canadian products, there will be something very interesting to do with them. Did you have something else to add?
Just going to say that we have working groups ongoing with various agricultural sectors, and there is an organic, we call them value chain roundtables, and we do have one with them. So there's an opportunity there to really get a good sense of what the issues are and to, be able to address their priorities through our various programs. I mean, I would say it's really writ large.
Yes. Mr. Longfield earlier talked about the tragic situation with African swine fever. In British Columbia, as you know, we had a vibrant hog industry, which now is non-existent. In BC, there are no slaughterhouses for export. Given the geographical proximity of British Columbia to Asia, to China, Korea, Japan, do you think there's a possibility of reviving a hog industry and perhaps an organic hog industry?
Well, it goes a lot with the leadership of the industry in the specific region. I'm always hopeful that we will have it. And you just talked about the value chain working group, but it makes me think that I think it's important to have more processors in Canada. I think we are exporting too much actually, raw production, and that we should work and invest in processing. And it would be obviously good for the economy, but it would also ease our trade, because when the product has been transformed or processed, I should say, I think it's easier in terms of phytosanitary rules to export.
I'm not sure it's easier, but it's
yeah, okay.
we're there for them too.
But yes.
As a country, Canada, we have trade deals with very important sectors in the world with Europe. We've just finalized a trade deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I'm not sure exactly what we're calling it now. Can you talk a little bit about your plans in diversifying our trade both into Asia and Europe?
Definitely, and actually Minister Carr would obviously be more eloquent on this, but having signed the partnership agreement and the agreement with Europe opens up doors for us, and particularly since we have been amongst the first to sign the partnership agreement, and we really have to take advantage of that. I know Minister Carr will be leading a trade mission shortly. And while I will be in Japan for the G20, I will also use this opportunity to be accompanied by some of the leaders of the industry and have meeting to open up doors. I've also offered maybe to communicate, to contact my previous contact from my contacts from my previous jobs, since I have traveled a lot in some of the countries that could be of interest for our Canadian exports. So we're looking at.
Merci,
yes.
Madame la Ministre. Mr. Shipley for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Minister, for being here. Canola, March the 4th, 2 months ago, when the notification came through and the certifications were pulled. you have said that you're looking at mini markets, new markets, and you meet every week. Is that all?
I'm
I
sorry,
mean,
would
you
you?
gotta, my concern is, Minister, this happened 2 months ago.
Yep.
We, at this committee, tried 3 times to get witnesses to come to this committee before we eventually got a meeting. We asked in the House of Commons a number of times to have an emergency debate, was turned down because this was not a priority with the government. Now, your priorities, when we talk about how many you wrote the letter to your counterpart, how many times have you picked up the phone and talked to him?
It is a priority since day one. You have waited 6 weeks to ask a question at question period.
Well, we can
First.
go back.
You're filibustering.
I'm filibustering?
You were in the House.
How many conversations have you had with your counterpart? You wrote a letter. How many conversations have you had with that counterpart?
I already told you I didn't talk to him.
Why?
I haven't had the opportunity to have a conversation with him.
I think that's the frustrating part, Minister. I know you're new at the portfolio, but quite honestly, we've got a crisis in our agriculture industry. And so, well, the question was asked about, we do not have an ambassador. There was,
So it looks like we have a vote. I don't know if we want to, I don't know, no vote? Okay, the light just flashed a couple of times, so maybe it's false alarm. Huh? Okay, keep going, Mr. Shipley.
thank you.
Sorry about that.
Asked about the status of replacing the ambassador. There really wasn't an answer. I guess that's not your portfolio, but you also sit around the cabinet. So then the next question will be, have you started the initiation of a WTO appeal on this?
We have a chargé d'affaires who is very well experienced, and we have daily conversation with the Chinese on the canola thing, in the canola situation. We have decided not to start a process with the WTO because we don't think it's the right moment to do such a thing.
When do you think that would be?
We are monitoring the situation and getting advice and thinking about it with the working group as well, because we think we value the thoughts of our partners.
See, the problem is, Minister, is that when we were asking to have input into it, I don't know if you know when canola's planted, but they're at it. We were asking prior to get assistance, and so this is now March the 1st when you made your announcement. We had, or May the 1st when you made the announcement of the advanced payment program. There was no indication come from the government or from the Prime Minister about answering the question about where are you at with replacing the ambassador, which would be our spokesperson and our salesperson for Canada. There is been no indication to us about the option of the WTO appeal. I'm just wondering, like, who's actually around the table supporting our farmers? Like, we're getting talk, but there doesn't seem to be any action. We're just looking for some indicator that's giving our producers some sense of action. We can give these programs, and I don't take away from those programs because they're voluntary. They can use them or not, and that's good. But the bigger part of it is, you talked earlier about markets. I don't know where they are. You didn't expand on that. You didn't expand on the WTO or on the ambassador. And those are three critical points. And I'm just wondering, asking the time, when can we expect to hear something on those timelines?
We once again, because you are choosing your indicators, and we don't believe that those you have chosen are the right action that we should proceed with. And I encourage you to speak with the people representing our farmers, like those who are sitting at the working group. And I believe they will tell you that we are there to support our farmers. We are there from day one, and they know that.
Who do I ask, Mr. Chair, to find out those answers?
Madam Minister, if I can ask, can I get, that would complete our round for one question, if you're okay with that? Mr. McGregor, thank you.
Well, I want to revisit issue of tariff rate quotas again. You said you're aware of the issue. My question to you is, as the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food, are you prepared to give an opinion here at committee as to whether our domestic processors should have more of the tariff rate quota allocated to them from the trade deal with the European Union, given that retailers have most of it right now?
I have worked more on the one for the partnership agreement than CETA, so no, I'm not prepared to give you a clear answer now, but I would be pleased to come back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this will be all we have. Je vous remercie, Madame la Ministre, d'être venue ici.
Thank you for coming here today, Minister. We are a major player on the international scene, so we also have major international problem. We wish you the very best of luck.